Hiya Six, and welcome to today's writing lesson. Today we're going to be building on the narrative work we've done this week, and we're going to be looking mainly at verbs and adverbs and how to use them in our writing. Before we go on to the lesson, I need to do some shout outs to a big group of people who have been working really hard. Now, they sent in a whole bunch of work on Friday with their adverts and the way they edited it. And I just want to really highlight the fantastic work that these guys have been doing. So let's go and have a look. Right, so as I said, I want to give out some shout outs. So let's have a little look at Alfie in 6M. And Alfie has used some really great little bits of editing to add on to his work. And it just looks amazing. I love the little capital letters and the way it's in bubble writing. Got Poppy in 6G. This is one of my absolute favourites actually. The way she's used colour and the different tones of colour she's actually used around some of the writing. It looks amazing. So well done, Poppy. We've got Ben in 6P. Ben's used some really good questions in his one, which is excellent. And Akila in 6M. Akila's used the word variety really well to introduce her list. Okay. Now each of you're going to get some dojo points, and well done to you. We also have Alexis in 6M. Now Alexis has highlighted the word A really brilliantly here to really give some depth to her writing, which is excellent. We've also got Louis in 6R. Now Louis has also used some questions really effectively, and he's got 4 in a row, which is really good for building up the image in someone's mind of what they want to have. Are you trying to see your enemies? Are you looking to stop your enemies? Some really good work there. Also got Amelia in 6G. Now Amelia's used the recommendation, so it's recommended by 007 themselves, and they've even put in a little offer, which is great. Harrison is 6R. Now Harrison has used a little bit of like a lightning bolt and a bit of colouring, but also I wanted to highlight the handwriting in this one. It's absolutely beautiful, so well done, Harrison. And finally, we've got Emmy's, and now Emmy's got a mix. She's got some questions. She's used some of the editing and the colour, and her handwriting is nicely joined as well. So well done to all of you. Again, like I said, you will be getting a whole bucket full of dojo points, so well done. Right, to start off today, I've got a couple of clips just looking at what verbs and adverbs actually are. If you are working in school, you can still watch the video, but if you want to actually click on either of those words, it will take you to the page and you can have a little look. Anybody else, if you want to, if you just go to BBC Bite Size and you can find verbs and adverbs. Let's have a look.
Well, what a lovely view. The perfect place to tell you all about verbs. Oh, I spoke too soon. There's some building work going on. Where were we? Oh yes, a verb is a word used to describe an action. That's doing something. Or a verb can be used to describe a state. That's feeling something. Or a verb can be used to describe an occurrence. That's something happening. You can't even have a sentence or question without a verb. That's how amazingly important verbs are. The workers here are working. Working is a doing word. They work up on this building all day long. Work is also a verb because it is an occurrence. Oh dear. What's this? They can hear something. Hear is also a verb. The workers can see a gorilla monster climbing the building. Yes, that's correct. Gorilla monster, you climbed the building. You are a clever gorilla monster. The adverb train station. If you want to find out about adverbs, there is no better place. An adverb tells you how something happens. Here is a train moving quickly on the track. Quickly is an adverb here, as it describes how fast the train is moving. And look, here is another train. This one is moving very slowly on the track. Slowly is an adverb here, as it describes how fast the train is moving. Oh, here is a group of passengers waiting patiently for their train. Patiently is the word describing the verb waiting. Oh dear, here's the gorilla monster. He wants to play with the train. Oh, you are playing nicely with the train, aren't you? Nicely is the adverb here, as it describes how the gorilla monster is playing with the train. Playing is the verb because that is what the gorilla monster is doing. An adverb describes the nature of a verb. The gorilla monster expertly launched the train into space.
Right, I hope you found some of those useful. Like I said before, if you need to go back, go on to BBC Bite Size and you can rewatch them or just rewind the video to have a look again. So today we are still using dialogue to advance narrative action. We're slowly building up to writing our own version of the fight scene at the Breakers Yard. And the last little bit we're going to look at really today is to know how to use a range of verbs and adverbs to really move along the actions or how things are happening. So some of our key vocabulary is still going to be dialogue. We still need our inverted commas and our speech, but to add to that, we need to use a verb and adverbs today. So this is the dada from yesterday, and I'm going to show you how I add in verbs and adverbs to this. So I'm just going to read it out loud first. He found himself face to face with the enormous man in overalls who he'd seen operating the crusher earlier. Alex realised the need for action and neutralised the threat with a swift uppercut. "Take that!" he yelled as the big guy crumpled to the floor. Now, it's got some good description, action, dialogue and more action, but we could just, again, make this even better. Okay, we're going to up-level even more, and I'm going to show you how I do that now. So, let's move me out of the way. Now it's very, very similar. All I've done is added in an adverb, but I've also changed one of the said verbs. So we've got, he found himself face to face with the enormous man in overalls who he'd seen operating the crusher earlier. That was absolutely fine. I've just left that for now. If you really wanted to change that, you could have. Alex realised the need for action and quickly. So here's my adverb, neutralise the threat with a swift uppercut. So I've put an adverb in there to just show how he neutralised the threat. He did it quickly. The swift as well helps us show how quickly and how fast this happened. Take that, he screamed as the big guy crumpled to the floor. They're almost synonyms. Yelled, screamed, shouted, they're synonyms. But I like the sound of scream rather than yelled for this one, so I've changed it. So again, you could use these verbs and adverbs however you want to, but it's using them in the right place to really have effect. You could have put more into this, but you don't have to have lots and lots and lots of them. You need to choose the best possible place for them to go to have the most effect. Right, we're going to have an hour turn now. I've got the first bit that we just looked at then, and we've kind of used that already this week. I've left in red the verb and the adverb that we changed, just so you can see. And what I'd like you to do for our turn, and I'll help you after, is I'd like you to, move me back out of the way, I'd like you to fill in the blanks or tweak this next part of our dialogue. Okay, so I'm going to read it out loud. The crusher operator was lying still on the ground. The funeral driver ran over to confront Alex. As he squared up to the young boy, replied Alex. Now I've clicked just to show where something needs to go. It's where these spaces are. Alright. So you need to kind of think of what's going to go in there. We talk about verbs and adverbs, but you're going to need to also add some extra bits to go with them. So the crusher operator was lying still on the ground. Something. The funeral driver ran over to confront Alex. So that's kind of an opener. What might go in there? Then, if you notice in this next part, the speech, with our inverted commas, it's got a question. So this must be a question. So then this verb has to link to that question. See what I mean? So it's got to be a questioning type of verb. he something as he squared up to the young boy. And then Alex is going to need to reply. So whatever you've asked here, you can choose. Whatever question you've posed there, Alex needs to reply with an answer, doesn't he? So go and pause the video, have a little play around with this, see how you would fill in those blanks. If you want to tweak other little bits as well, great, go for it. But the basic I need is those blanks filled in and use a verb and adverb somewhere in there as well as the extra bits. So go and have a little go. All right, brilliant. Let's have a little look at what I thought we could have come up with. You might want to share your ideas as well and compare it to me. So again, I've got a start bit there, but I've gone with the crusher operator was lying still on the ground in a flash. So that is still an adverb. It's an adverbial phrase. It's my opener. The funeral driver, and I got rid of ran. I didn't like that word, and I put sprinted. So like I said, you could tweak bits if you wanted. So I put sprinted over to confront Alex. Oi! What do you think you're doing? He asked. So that is my said verb there, all right, that I'm changing. As he squared up to the young boy. Me? Nothing. I'm just looking for my bike, replied Alex. So I've put asked as my said verb that I changed, and in a flash. You could have put quickly, you could have put hurriedly. There's lots of different ways you could have had that kind of opener. You could have put an adverb in different places if you want to, because you could have put one after he. So he asked as he quickly squared up to the young boy, as he angrily squared up to the young boy. So there are different places you can put it in. It's just how I chose to do it. It could be different for you. But do you start to see that by adding in an adverb, changing some of these said verbs, you have a greater effect? If I just had he said as he squared up to the young boy and said Alex down here, it wouldn't have had the same effect. So it's about choosing the right place for them to go. Now, I've kind of put this waggle all together. This is my one that I've used from different bits that we've done so far this week. And I'm going to read it out loud so you get an idea of where we're at so far in this kind of fight scene. We did the drama earlier in the week where the two kind of workers were back and forth having a bit of an argument. That's before the car was getting crushed. So we're going to move forward. We're going to start from Alex has got out of the car. It says he's seen operating the crusher earlier. And we are moving on to Alex trying to get out of this situation because he's obviously just escaped the crusher. He's seen what's going on. He needs to get out of here. So let's read it. He found himself face to face with the enormous man in overalls who he'd seen operating the crusher earlier. Alex realised the need for action and quickly neutralised the threat with a swift uppercut. "Take that!" he screamed as the big guy crumpled to the floor. The crusher operator was lying still on the ground. In a flash, the funeral director sprinted over to confront Alex. "Oi! What do you think you're doing?" he asked as he squared up to the young boy. "Me? Nothing. I'm just looking for my bike," replied Alex. This is where we got to so far. We're only going to go here, okay? We're not going to get onto the full-on fight scene yet. I want to really focus on this part and how we can make this even better and how you can have your own version. So for your turn, I would like you to write your own version of that waggle, of the our turn waggle, which describes the beginning of the fight scene. We just started, you just hit one person and the next one's come in and it's just starting to escalate, isn't it? So you're going to write your own little version of this. What do you need to remember though before we actually start writing it? Have a little think now to yourself, or talk to the person next to you, or just pause and have a think. What do you need to remember when you write this up? What kind of things do you need to put into your writing? Excellent. So let's have a little look. You need to remember the dada. So description, action, dialogue, action. And I put speech in brackets because that's where you're going to use the inverted commas. You also need to have your inverted commas, and it needs to go around what is being said. So if you're not sure about that, go back to previous lessons and have a look at how you use inverted commas, or look at the waggle. Punctuation, question marks, exclamation marks, commas, they've got to go inside the inverted commas and use them. You need to try and use different said verbs and not just saying said all the time. Plus a range of adverbs, quickly, hurriedly, in a flash, how things are happening if you describe them, it makes it so much more interesting. And then also, if you're going to use some speech, you need a new line for a new speaker. So every time there's a new person talking, it needs a new line. If it's the same person saying more than one thing, it can carry on. So just remember those when you get onto the task. So I'm going to show you Chili's, and I'll also show the waggle again so you can pause on that screen and use that as a guide. So write your own version of the our turn waggle, which describes the beginning of the fight scene at the scrapyard. So Chili 1, use a variety of said verbs and inverted commas for speech. So go back through your notes from last week in reading, give you lots of said verbs. Look back through what we've done recently. Go and Google some if you want. Chili 2, apply the speech rules correctly. So again, go back and check those, how you use inverted commas, how you use the other little bits with speech, and also use different adverbs. Chili 3, make sure you've done Chili 1 and 2, because they're some of the nuts and bolts. And also create your own similes or phrases, so like I had in a flash, to vary the dialogue. So you're not always using ly adverbs. See if you can use your own kind of ones, come up with some different phrases or similes to replace those, to really elevate that writing. So I'm going to show you the waggle now. Again, now it just says edit, change, magpie, rewrite. You can do this how you kind of want. You can tweak bits that I've already got in there. You can completely rewrite this. You can change it around. You can change which characters are coming in where. Go for it. It's great. But if you just want to change little bits that I've done, that's absolutely fine as well. So that is all there for you to have a go at. Now, please don't go any further than this bit. We're not going to get onto the full-on fight scene. That's going to be tomorrow, because I'm going to introduce a couple of bits of vocabulary to help you describe that fight scene. Okay, well done for having a go at all of that. To self or peer assess today, what you can do is go back through those rules for remembering. All right, so look, have you used some description, action, dialogue, action? Have you used that? You can go and give a little tick. Have you used inverted commas? And have you put them around what is actually being said? Go and see if you can highlight those or find those. Have you used your punctuation? Have you got question marks, exclamation marks, commas? Are they inside the inverted commas? Plus, have you just used your normal full stops in the right place and capital letters? Next one, have you used different said verbs? Go and find the different said verbs that you've used. Maybe underline them, circle them. And have you got a range of adverbs? Finally, just double check that you've got a new line for each new speaker. And you could compare with somebody in the room. You could compare with my waggle, and you can swap work if you have someone to swap work with, or you can send in your work and I will help you have a look at it. So if you want to send in your work, please email it in to the Year 6 address. You could type it up and send it in. Some people have done that. Or if you prefer writing things down on line paper or paper, please take a picture of that, send it in. If you've got anything you really want to show us, or if you want any help with anything, please let us know. Thank you for today. It has been absolutely lovely going through this. I can't wait to get on to tomorrow, where we're going to talk about the karate moves and the fight scene in its totality, and the whole thing. We're going to really get into it. Okay, so have a lovely day, and I will see you tomorrow.